Welcome back to Business and Beyond. On today's episode, I'm joined by Average James, a rising artist from Guelph who has recently dropped his debut album, This Is Absurd. With a sound that blends vulnerability, storytelling, and originality, Average James walks us through his journey from early musical influences to crafting a full-length project that's turning heads. If you're an up-and-coming musician, a fan of authentic music, or just curious about the mastermind behind this stunning album, this one is for you. Here's a snippet from my personal favorite song in the album, In Tongues by Average James.
So if you gonna cut me off, gonna count me out, at least you could look in my face as you shut me down. If you gonna cut me off, gonna count me out, at least you could look in my face as you lay me down. Yeah.
Hello and thank you for tuning into Business and Beyond. My name is Brian Braga and I'm your host, and today we are joined by Average James, an upcoming Guelph native artist. He has recently released an album titled This Is Absurd, and he is here to shed some light on his art today. Average James, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great, man. I just recently came back from a trip to Japan, and I'm feeling rejuvenated. I'm feeling good.
I saw all those photos too, and they all look gorgeous. I'm very jealous of you.
It was splendid. It was beautiful.
Awesome. And for those who don't know you, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I go by the name Average James. I've been making music since I was like 13, and I always joked that it was really bad until maybe a couple of years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I just make music. I do it as little therapy sessions for myself, so a lot of the songs end up coming out as just little pieces of me that I can share with people and connect with them. And I try to make it sound really fucking cool when I do it. And that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, that's good up and coming story. When you got started, how did your love for music really begin when you were about 13?
Well, so what actually originally happened was Guitar Hero 3 came out, and I was all over that. I played that game every single day after school. I played it before school. I played it on weekends. I was just ripping Guitar Hero all the time. And I loved that game so much and all of the songs on it that I started doing deep dives into the artists that were featured on it. And then I realized, man, like, I love playing this stupid little toy guitar. It would be awesome if I had a real guitar. And that got extended to my parents, who eventually bought me my first Stratocaster. It was just like a cheapy Squire, but I'm a lefty, so they had to pay a little bit extra dollar for that. Thank you, shout out to the parentals. And then I just started kind of teaching myself how to play guitar for the songs that I really liked, which sucked because I was really into math rock at the time. So I was listening to songs that were way more technically advanced than a beginner should be trying to figure out. And that's what I started off trying to play. And then I was producing on my old MacBook, just on GarageBand, and making weird, bad sounding songs. And that's kind of how it started. Some of those songs are still online somewhere if people know where to look in the right spots, but I'm not going to guide anyone towards them because they're not great.
Nice. I have a couple follow-up questions immediately. For one, I'm actually getting into math rock now, and your 13-year-old self is so brave. I sit down for like one lesson on like YouTube, and immediately I'm giving up.
Oh yeah, dude, hammer-ons and pull-offs are your best friend when it comes to math rock.
Yeah, dude, I can't even get like the tone right. I'm like, and it's just, there's just so much going on. I choose like 2 math rock songs, and I'm like, you know what? I'll learn this. Call it a day,
dude. And you got to get like such a specific, like, because it's always like emo, like West Coast emo tones out of the guitars, and getting that specific sound is difficult if you don't know or have the like tools to facilitate that clean, but still a little like has a little bite.
Oh, for sure. Dude, Guitar Hero 3 had a chokehold on me. Seriously. Yeah, like that's an insane game that I played too. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese for a bit. That was like one of my first few jobs. They had Guitar Hero there. I'd spent my whole shift just playing Guitar Hero. Sorry, Chuck E. Cheese employers. I got to play Guitar Hero for free. Do you remember which Guitar Hero controller you had? Like which model of guitar it was? I am curious.
It was a Les Paul.
Nice.
Like it was formed like a Les
Yeah.
Paul. It wasn't the one that came with the game. We had that one as well, but then I was playing it at my grandparents' place, and my uncle had one of the Les Paul extra ones that he just bought, and I just used that one all the
Nice.
time because it felt a lot better. Which is funny because I now as an actual guitarist, I don't really like Les Pauls that much. I don't. That's one of the ones that I don't have.
Yeah,
so.
fair. Yeah, I had a red SG. And then I ended up growing up, and I really like Les Pauls. I have a Les Paul in the back right now, and then I also have my Telecaster. So it's
It's funny that you say that because I've got. I'll show you.
wow,
Red
nice.
SG. I don't really use it much anymore because I bought a new guitar last year that I like a lot better. But I all of the. Sorry, I'll wait until I'm sitting back down. All of the rhythm sections on "This Is Absurd" were done with that guitar over
That's
the new
cool
one
fact.
because the new one, some of the high strings on the new one don't lend themselves well. So I used a mix of both.
To be fair, I've never actually tried an SG for a real guitar. I just went solely off of like the aesthetics of a look. So I was like, oh, the aesthetic of a Tele, a Strat, and like a Les Paul. I'm like, oh yeah, crisp. And then the SG is just the little devil horns. I'm like, oh man, if I had to cut out a guitar.
This one's my new puppy.
Oh yeah,
it's a Jaguar. It's a Kurt Cobain edition Fender Jaguar.
oh, that's a nice one.
And it that's been my dream guitar for forever.
I saw a TikTok where someone was saying that it's a Mustang, correct? No, Jaguar. A Jaguar is a Mustang cyborg brother because the body's the same, but like the
the body's really really similar. Yeah.
Anyways, we got off topic. we turned into Guitar Show and Tell. That was great. What were some of your biggest musical influences growing up?
Growing up, my influences kind of like shifted and changed a little bit because I started I was listening to like screamo, emo, math rock, like that kind of stuff. So when I was growing up, I was listening to like Alexis on Fire, screamo bands from like Sacramento, like Dance Gavin Dance, a lot like Birds, The Fall of Troy. I really loved this band called La Dispute, which was they do like it's screamo, but a lot of it is more like poetry focused. Like they do a lot of storytelling stuff and atmospheric work. And then I listened to a lot of atmospheric stuff as well, like Mogwai. Explosions in the Sky was a huge one for me for a while. And then I shifted into listening to hip hop in high school. And I think I shifted over to hip hop because it was cool. And it was a thing to listen to, even though I wasn't like huge on it. But then I started finding artists that I like songs where I was like, oh, I actually see the value in this. And then that's kind of where I shifted my perspective over into hip hop in terms of what I was making. So I was listening to a lot of Mac Miller. I was listening to a lot of Saba. I was listening to a lot of old Kendrick. And then I did a lot further of deep dives. As soon as I discovered Brockhampton, that they had a chokehold on me for fucking forever. I still listen to them. And then that kind of helped me expand out into what I listen to now, which is a lot more expansive. Like I listen to a lot of weird hip hop and a lot of weird R&B, new age indie rock stuff that's coming out, like McGee, Dijon, Gene Dawson. Those guys are huge influences on me now, and some of those kind of lean a little more into like punk or like 80s style resurgence. And I try to take all of those influences or the bits and pieces from all of those influences that really stuck with me over time, because there's still bands that I listened to when I was like 12 and 13 that I still listen to now on occasion where I'm like, this slapped. There was a reason I was listening to this.
I had great taste.
And I try to, yeah, exactly. Give myself a little pat on the back. Not all of it was great. Not all of it was great. And I try to take all of those influences from all of these different spheres and blend them into whatever the hell you'd call what I'm doing.
And what led you to create the persona Average James?
Well, so I've gone through a couple personas. When I was just rapping, I had a shitty name in high school, and I used that moniker. But I was just like taking beats online and rapping
I'm
over
so
them
curious.
with my
What
iPhone.
was your name? I need to know.
It was
Oh,
Gun.
that's so good. Nice.
It was short for Gunther because some kid in my gym class in grade 9 started calling me Gunth. Like Gunther Steele. Like I don't even know where it came from. He just started calling me it, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna run with that. And it was like not a great name, but it was fun. And then I stopped doing stuff under that name. I switched to Nomad Solo for one project that I did, which was it was okay, but that kind of led me towards like that's when I realized like, man, I need to like be producing this stuff myself. And I need to be, and if I'm not producing stuff myself, I need to be taking beats and then like actually buying them and taking the elements from those things and producing parts of it myself so that I can inject myself into the instrumentals of these things. So I think I dropped my last song as Nomad Solo in 2018. And then I just stopped releasing stuff. I closed my channels that had that, and I kind of had to take like a long look at what it was that I wanted to do and do it mostly myself. Because it felt like if I was going to continue down the path of making music for the reasons that I was making music, it needed to come more from me than it was. And it needed to be in a style and in a way that felt more genuine to how my tastes had changed. So I spent a lot of time learning how to produce, and that with that came a lot of really bad songs as well, as expected. A lot of really bad beats and a lot of things where it's like, clearly I'm just somebody with an untrained ear trying to figure it out. And a lot of YouTube tutorials and a lot of samples and a lot of learning how to play the piano later. I started making stuff that was pretty good. And I would show just like people who were close to me that knew that I was still like doing this on the low. And at some point I started having people be like, yo, like you need to start releasing stuff again. Like this, you've hit that point. Like you need to start going again. And I was like, damn, okay. So I started kind of workshopping a bunch of names, and my name was actually inspired by another artist called Unusual Demont, and I just thought that it was cool, like that, like it's such a casual name where it's a descriptive word and then the name, and then having that kind of be the moniker. And then I was trying to figure out like how I could install something like that on myself in a way that felt genuine. And how I settled on it was my middle name is James, and I'm just an average dude. I'm just hanging out. I'm just a guy. I don't know. So, and it helps tempers the expectations, because I'll tell people the name and then they ask me why, and I say that, and they're like, oh, okay. And it immediately dissolves any expectation around the quality of whatever they're going to listen to. And I think it kind of sets people up with a lower expectation, so that when they do hear whatever it is, it's easier for them to decide whether it's something that they actually like, or if it's something that they're like, I wouldn't listen to this again.
That's awesome. Yeah. Keeps you humble too, just have average right in the beginning of it. With you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know you mentioned you wanted to inject more of yourself in the music. And I know on your last album, I asked you previously how all the instrumental went, because I know you played guitar, you played bass, you did the drum tracks over at the piano. You are like Tame Impalaing your own album. How did you go about learning all these instrumental tracks to the point where you could just become your own band and produce an entire soundtrack instrumental all by yourself?
It was kind of a process. It really ultimately came down to my ability to learn how to play keys, because a lot of the extra instrumentation that you see on there, like I used for some of the more complicated sections, there's sampling done in there where I'll take samples and kind of place them in and mix them into everything else, but I try to make them blend and change them in a way that they're not fully recognizable from the original. with drum tracks, it's finding good loops or finding good samples and then building up my own loop within that. Um, and then like a lot of the orchestration, those had samples laid underneath them, and then I did extra orchestral stuff using my keyboard and patching those into virtual instruments, and then that's how I got a lot of the sounds. All of the synth playing was done using keyboard as well. So as I was learning how to use my keyboard, I was learning how to play piano a lot better. And because I was learning how to play piano, it allowed me, it unlocked a world of possibilities, because you can find instruments and like virtual instruments that will change the sound and allow you to morph sounds into whatever your mind imagines. So it's been spending a lot of money on cool synth patches and then spending like hours in those synth patches changing things until I'm like, oh, this sounds different and cool. So that was a lot of the basis of This Is Absurd, was trying to find a mix of the sounds that I had been using before on tracks that I had produced and tracks that I hadn't, and really taking the elements of things that I had done prior and figuring out how to fully inject myself into a sound that was fully and completely mine. And you asked me before we hopped on here about what I considered my debut album, and I think that's why I do consider This Is Absurd my debut album, is because of how much of myself got placed into that project. I worked tirelessly for 7 months getting everything as close to perfect as I could, given the knowledge that I have available to me right now. It's the first project that I look at and I'm like, this is completely and wholly mine. Yeah, it was really, ultimately, it just came down to the keyboard. Like, I know how to play. I always tell people this too. Like, I can play guitar passively. I can play piano passively. I'm getting a lot better at piano than I am at guitar now, just because I love piano. And I can play bass well enough. But when it comes down to like more complicated sections on the album and in recording, it's like I get to sit here and perfect section by section and kind of go through and make these parts sound like they were all done in one go. But it takes me a while to like break some of those sections down and like really turn them into what they're supposed to sound like, because I'm not a virtuoso when it comes to actually playing the instruments. So I have to take extra time to lay out things section by section and kind of do them like that. So it's a little deceiving. I think I come across as a little more prolific than I am.
But at the end of the day, you're just average James.
Exactly.
That's all full circle. Nice. And what does your songwriting process look like? Like, do you start with a melody, lyrics?
It depends. It really depends. A lot of the time, I'm just kind of going with the flow of something. Like, I'll have a chord progression that I'll start. I have an upright piano over there in my room, and I've got
drag it over
just underneath. I've got underneath the camera too. I've got a big synth. I've got a Moog Matriarch, which is a semi-modular synth, which does a bunch of weird whack sounds, but you have to patch it individually and do stuff with it. And then I've got another keyboard underneath it, which is the MIDI keyboard that I use for most of the recording, almost all of the recording.
Technical difficulties. My bad. I probably sound a lot better now. I have the right mic set up.
Perfect. All right.
Writing process.
Writing process.
Yeah,
perfect.
Writing process. So it usually starts off with the keyboard. I find that I'm able to write better lyrics and kind of patch myself into whatever it is that what I'm trying to say, or whatever my body or soul or mind, or however you want to look at it. Whatever is trying to flow through me comes a lot better when I haven't set the whole song up yet. So when it's just broken down into basic chords on a keyboard, I'm able to get the lyrics down the way that I want them to, and like actually understand the soul of the song that's kind of coming through me. But I don't really go in with full intent. I tried that for This Is Absurd. It's a concept project that I realized after release that the concept is a little contrived in comparison to the lyricism of it, but it makes sense in my head, and I'm okay that it comes across a way that wasn't my intention. But a lot of the time I find when I try and pigeonhole myself to like write about a specific thing or write in a specific way, it sets up blockers in my head of being able to like actually carve out the idea that I'm looking for. As opposed to if I go in with intention that's very loose, where it's like, okay, I want, like when I'm working, I just finished up over the past couple of days, I just finished up the 2 opening songs for the next project. I have the theme down for the next project. I have the visual polarity of the whole thing set up. I know what I want it to look like. I know what I want it to sound like in terms of the cinematic elements that I like to work with. I know that I want these songs to sound closer and more intimate. I want them to have a little bit of a vintage hue to them, and I want them to take a lot more inspiration from like jazz piano and orchestration that I kind of teased on the last project, but now I'm kind of dipping fully into that side of things because of the subject matter of this new project. I want everything to kind of feel softer almost. I'm still going to be rapping on some stuff. There's still going to be some groovy shit on there, but I want it to sound in a specific way. And I'm going to take that loose idea and then work within the confines of that just to have like a sonic palette to work with. But then when I come down to the actual writing, once I get the chord progressions down, I find how do I word this? When chords or a sound or just like something that I'm playing starts to really speak to me, I find that my body or my soul or whatever I'm tapping into, it just knows what to say. It knows what to say when I'm pulling from something that's like greater than just myself. So I let those things kind of flow through, and those end up usually being the best songs that I write when I'm not like thinking about it and I'm just kind of letting whatever is happening happen. And I find I always find that afterwards, in hindsight, when I listen to the song after like months or however long, I can look back and like break down what a song is like lyrically and the sounds around it, and I can look at them and be like, I know what I was actually trying to say in this that I wasn't privy to at the time, and how important it was for me to have said that because I did it subconsciously. Which is why I always kind of pitch my songs as journal entries, because it really is, at the end of the day, like the songs that mean the most to me are ones that, even if at the time I didn't know that I was trying to vent about a specific thing or process specific emotions about stuff that was going on in my life, or just like obscure emotions that I've thought about that like maybe aren't attributed to things that have happened to me, but are emotions that I want to try and like fabricate a story around and then place myself into. Those things still end up being really important because they're emotions that I've thought about that I felt compelled subconsciously to release from myself. So that's usually like the songwriting just is throwing shit at a wall and then realizing after, oh, these ones are important, these ones aren't important. And I think that it was really important for me to kind of remember that recently, because I have so much music banked from the end of the This Is Absurd release window to now. I've just been steady writing stuff and producing things, and there's a lot of stuff that sounds cool but doesn't feel right. And there's a lot of stuff that feels right but doesn't sound good. And I've needed to be extremely selective about those things. And the reason that I have been so quiet in terms of social media presence and in terms of like releasing stuff, because usually I release often, but I'm slowing down this time because I want to be selective about the things that are just coming to me and making sure that I'm treating them with the care and respect that they deserve. Whereas the songs that I was kind of writing before I went on my trip, there was a lot of them that I was just making stuff to make stuff, which is fine because it's practice and it's experimentation and it's discovering new things that work for me. But I've learned that not all of it has inherent value in terms of like releasing it. And not all of it represents me in a way that I want to be represented. So it's something that I've overcomplicated for myself, but when I bring it back down to basics and I simplify the process again, and I just kind of let the things happen around me and just trust kind of my musical instinct, though that's the good songwriting.
Yeah. And transitioning to the songs that you've written on This Is Absurd, what would you say your top 2 songs are?
Top 2 on This Is Absurd. Fuck, that's tough. Those songs all mean so much to me. Bloom is easily one of my favorites that I've ever done. I think that the atmosphere on that was one of the ones where like I finished it and I was like, damn, I nailed that. This song sounds.
I did that shit.
yeah, it is though. It's one of those moments where like I listen back afterwards and I hear it and I'm like, damn, like I had this idea and I kind of let it flow through me and I experimented with it and it ended up turning out exactly how I heard it in my head. That song came out like to a T, so perfect in terms of like the mix and in terms of like the sound selection on it. Like that was one of the ones where like when I finished it, I was like, fuck, this is a good song. And I don't always get that feeling. Even songs that I've released, even songs on This Is Absurd, there are songs on there that I didn't feel that way about. But Bloom's definitely up there. Picking a second one, I really like Scissors. I think that one is really pretty, and that kind of leads me into the direction that I'm moving with this next thing. But I also really like. I'm a sucker for Nostalgia Plus, the closing song on that project. It was inspired by a unreleased Brockhampton song, and I wanted to capture that same feeling of like there's like a sadness to it, like a certain melancholy to it, but there's also it's so tinged with hope. And I really wanted to make sure that I nailed that feeling. And when I finished that song, I was listening to it and I was like, this is such a good closing thought for this project. When I listened to that song, I visualize like it's like that scene in the one Fast and Furious where they're driving away from each other. I visualize like this whole journey of this project has been like it's such an emotionally rich project, and it goes through so many situations and so much heavy emotion about like the idea of having to break up with yourself basically and break up with shitty parts about yourself that you need to either make peace with or let go of. And that final track feels like driving away from all of it. It feels like letting go. It feels like finally just giving in. And I think that that's another one where like the feeling there, I have my own qualms about the mix on that song and some of the other ones on the project, but I can make my peace with it knowing that the feelings are right.
Yeah. And what would you say the overall like theme or emotion that you're trying to encapsulate is for This Is Absurd?
The overall feeling that I'm trying to capture with This Is Absurd, and I had a conversation with somebody while I was in the process of writing This Is Absurd, and I was kind of sending off demos to people, just being like, hey, like listen to this. Is this decent? Just to kind of get a gauge on whether what I was doing was going to resonate with some people that I trust in terms of their musical opinion and just in general. And what I've realized in the process of writing that project, and I think that this is something that just holds true for who I am as a person, the overarching feeling of that project is that no matter how bad it gets, there's always hope. There's always hope and there's always space to grow, no matter how hard it is. And I've realized that that's kind of my MO as an artist. Like the theme that I touched on there, like I want someone to listen to stuff that I come up with now and that project and listen to it and understand the pain that I had to go through to write some of those songs and realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, always. Um, so I think at the end of the day, if I even putting aside like the concept of the project and whatever, the feeling that I want people to have from that is that there's hope.
Nice. And I know that you had I think it was your first live show recently in November, right in Guelph. How were your feelings bringing your album to life in a live setting?
It was so fun, man. I've played small live shows. Like I've done a couple acoustic sets here and there. I did a rap set way back when with Matt, who I don't know if you ended up meeting him when we
I
were
think
up
I
there
may
show,
have, but I'm not too sure.
yeah, he was the guy who ran the show. He's awesome.
Yep.
And he asked me to do this show for him, and originally I said yes, but I was just going to do backing tracks and just like karaoke my own songs. And I was like, I hate that. And I panicked because it was getting close to the show. And I was like, dude, I don't know if this is not how I want to represent myself. And I was going to drop out of the show. I wasn't going to do it. And then that led into him talking to who ended up being my bassist, Hayden. And Hayden got a couple guys together and we started practicing and learning the songs in Hayden's basement. And it was just like those guys are so talented, and I kept like they're actually superheroes for putting that together, and learning those songs so quickly. We practiced 3 times before that.
Wow,
show.
really?
That was it. Yeah.
Hmm.
We practiced 3 times, and like they were just so good, and they tapped into it so quickly. And I was telling them that like a lot of the instrumentation that I use on the project is very it's so synth laden, and all of the stuff is like synths that I've patched on my PC that I can't bring my fucking tower to a show to get the right sound. So I was like, we're going to have to change the structure of a lot of these songs to make them work in a live setting with a 4-piece band. And when I was talking to them about this, I was like, basically what I'm trying to say is we can't do these songs justice in terms of making them sound like the recorded versions to a T. So let's just take the core ideas from them, and let's turn them into like you guys inject yourselves into them. Like Nick is a really good like country guitarist and folk guitarist, and he's just a talented guitarist in general. And I was like, inject that in there. Places where you think that there's some folk that you can toss in or some blues that you can toss in, do it. And same with the Joe, the drummer. I had a lot of talks with him about how we could change some of the drums up to fit this. Like, we almost played these songs as if they were like jazz and blues songs versus how they sound on the projects. And some of them, in my opinion, ended up sounding better than what I did with them for the recorded versions. And I'm like, man, this sounds so good. And like, obviously I was nervous and I fucked up a couple times, but they were so rock solid. And I think if I didn't have guys who were so ready and willing to learn the songs and be there for it and be so good at what they do, to give me that wiggle room to kind of mess up a little bit and figure out how to get into the groove myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it so successfully. But it was so good. And being able to like see people's reactions and hear them and watch as the music was expressed, like these feelings that I've had were expressed to them, it felt solidifying. It felt like I was finally showing people for real that, hey, I am this person that I've talked about how I am this thing for so long. Let me show you. That's what it felt like. It felt like me finally showing people that this thing that I say I am, this artist that I say I am, this musician that I say I am, here it is, right in front of you.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great answer. And I was at that live show too, and it was a great performance. I agree it sounded different, but like in a better way almost, where they each had their own personality, where there's like the album version, the live version, re-release it with the live version.
Dude,
have 2 of them.
Actually, I talked to them about it, where some of these songs that we changed, like Open Water Shine, very heavy synth pop track. We did it as like this bossa nova, like we changed that song so much. It's like a jazzy bossa nova version, and it sounds so different but it sounds so cool. And we were talking about it after. I was like, dude, we should like record these versions and do like a live version. But I realized like when I go into live settings with these songs, I like the idea of people coming to those shows and getting a version of these songs that they're never going to hear anywhere else. I love that. I think that
that's true. That's a sick experience. I also have about 5 minutes here left for you on the show, so we're gonna do a speed round. If you're up for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, how important has social media been in sharing your music? Pretty solid, not too much.
Unfortunately, very important. It's I've seen a lot of success from running ads on videos and stuff that we put a lot of time and work into, but I hate social media. I hate being on it. It's a cancer to my psyche.
Fair enough.
So I try to stay off of it as much as possible, and I know for a fact at the end of the day that's going to bite me in the ass in terms of like being successful with this, and I've had to decide whether I'm okay with that. And I think that for the sake of my mental health, so right, it's great, but I hate that it is.
Are you working on any TikTok dances for your? No. that's how you blow it up. Just make a TikTok dance, put your music to it. Yeah, call it a day.
I'm gonna make a TikTok dance, but the camera's just gonna be pointing at my toes the whole time. So,
free dogs.
Free dogs. So we'll see how that goes for me.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned that you're working on new music right now. When are you expecting your next release?
No idea. I'm hoping like it might be ready this year, but if it is ready this year, I'm probably going to still extend it off into next year so that I can get all the, like, we were very rushed to get all the music videos and all the extra tertiary stuff done because I had submitted the album already and I had this release date for October. And then we were like, oh, all of these extra things that we want to do for this are going to take a lot longer than we expected. So I think this time around, I'm going to get the album finished. I'm going to get all the artwork done for it. I'm going to get the videos done for it, take some extra time to like really care about those things. And then maybe try and do something a little funky, something a little weird and extra this time around to facilitate the promotion of it. Cause now there's eyes on me.
Yeah.
And I want the few eyes that are on me the next time around. I want them to be like, oh shit, he's doing something really cool this time. And also it sounds great. So
yeah. Do you have any dream collaborations or dream venues that you want to perform at?
Dream venue, literally any and all of them. I feel like the given answer for that is probably like some big stadium, but I love the setting of like the small intimate shows where I can just like walk around and hang out with people before I go up and then do the thing. Everyone's like really close and personal. So like literally any venue that allows me to just like be face to face with people who enjoy listening to music is a dream venue for me. All of them. I've only done one show, so every show is a dream show to me. And dream collaborations, I think my answer is the same, man. Anybody who's talented and interested in making cool music and just loves what they do is somebody I'm interested in working with always. That seems like a cliche answer, but it's true. Like I just want to work with people and play in settings where I'm surrounded by people who love what they do.
Nice. And what would success look like for you personally and professionally as Average James?
Success for me, I've been gripping with this recently, actually, because I've been in my head about how to be successful with this and what that actually means to me. And at the end of the day, I was just talking to somebody 2 days ago about this. My purpose in life is to connect with people. I have found that in myself over the last year, that like my purpose, the reason I am on this earth, is to connect with people, which is why obviously music has taken a grip on me, because it's an easy way to connect with a lot of really, really good people. And at the end of the day, like even if there's only 100 people listening or 50 people listening or however much, like if I'm able to give myself the self-therapy that I need out of creating the art that I create, and then put that out, and it allows somebody to heal, and it allows somebody to connect with me and allows me to connect with them, and gives me a reason to go out into the world and like meet people and just like gain new perspective, then I'm succeeding.
Yeah, great answer. And finally, what advice would you give to a young creator who has the passion, but they might be scared to pursue it fully?
Just start. You're going to go through years of making probably pretty bad music, or music that is maybe questionable. But you have to go through that. It's like growing up. You have to go through that awkward teen stage of adolescent musicianship, where you're making stuff that probably isn't exactly where you want it to go, but the only way that you're going to get where you want to go with it is by continuing to do the thing. Failing is the only way that you can learn.
Yeah.
So you
Well
just have
said.
to start. You just have to
Nice.
start.
And for the audience that wants to find you, listen to your music, as well as give you a follow on social media, where can we find you?
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Average James. You can find me. Just look up Average James. I'm the only one on there with the name, which is sweet. Makes it easy to find me. And if you're trying to follow me, I have Instagram only right now at avg.jmss, short for Average James.
Nice. TikTok or Instagram only until we get a TikTok page to get your TikTok dance going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Average James, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. I very much enjoyed deep diving into This Is Absurd, as well as your process, your emotions behind your creative projects. And I appreciate your insight today. It was great.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate an opportunity to kind of go into the back end of things and just have a good conversation.
Of course. And for those who are still listening, thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And then make sure to go check out Average James as well. 5, for those who are listening, not online. He has 5 fingers up right now. 5 of them. It's crazy. Anyways, we'll catch you on the next episode.